What's up, guys and gals? It's your host with the most, Kengan, as always, and co-host Griever, here post-eye surgery Griever, of course, here to bring you guys chapters, I believe, 156 of Kengan Omega to chapter 168. Of course, chapter 168 being the start of the real deal. The real deal, which I hope gets a lot more exciting than KVP, because honestly, that wasn't so hot. That was not hitting. That wasn't good. But overall, I give it an average at best. Some highlight moments, but overall, didn't really care for KVP personally. But that's all about to change now that we're almost completely caught up with Kengan Omega. But we have to get through these chapters first, and there's some stuff I like, some stuff I certainly do not like. So let's just jump right in. Of course, I have my notes in front of me, as I always do. I have myself a little bit of the good stuff, just to get me through. Realistically, just this first point. I think there's a point after this that I make, but here at the beginning is the rant part. All right, because chapter 156 to like 158, I got some questions and I got some problems. So let's just get right underway with it. Okay, so Zaiji. Apparently strong enough to take on both Ryuki and Okoya. Now, once again, do I put Okoya in top 5? No. Do I put Ryuki even near the top 15? Abso-fucking-lutely not. But regardless of that point, he's taking them both on. This loser, this bozo, they're taking him on. He's taking them on like they're easy. And he continues to run away, of course, because that's his shtick. And once again, we're going to get into that part. But here's my problem. Koga kicks the shit out of him. Now, I've already had my problems, as you guys know from the last video, with the whole Roland and Agito are training him. Why, I have no idea. And then we get later on, somebody else is training him too. And please, for the love of God, don't do what I think they're going to do with that. But sure, he's being trained, but from the looks of it, they're simply training him on pre-initiative, or the inception of intent, right? They're just training his fist eye to match up, so his eye can catch up with the latent talent. That much okay, I guess, but I still think that this is just pandering. Oh, well, gotta remind you, Koga's the MC, so we need to make that happen. But even now, nonetheless, Koga is not leaps and bounds ahead of Okoya. Alright? He's not this strong. And he's not, if it was Okoya versus Koga, I'd go with Okoya. Winning. And Ryuki, I think that's a hard fight. I think it's a hard fight still. Even with Koga getting all these mentor master people, like he's this culmination person for some reason, with no reason as to why. But I still don't understand. This isn't about Koga. This is about G. This is about Zai G. What the fuck is on with this dude? Because I don't understand. I legitimately do not. So maybe someone can explain this to me, but here are my theories going forward. At one point, he's on point, as Oma says that actually, Oma actually states that he's stronger than Koga. It's apparent. And then, but Koga is apparently, so Zaiji only works in, very specific emotional moods. At 2% of the time, he's on top, but the other 98% of the time, he's trash. And there doesn't seem to be a rhyme or reason as to why. If you could argue, it would be more simplistic if it was when he gets backed into a corner, you back someone into a corner too much, they come out swinging, or if it was one of those when he becomes emotionally distressed or he thinks he's going to die, I'm really going to die, raw, and then he hulks out or some shit into martial arts and Superman syndrome and all that shit, right? But there's no rhyme or reason. There's no consistency, I should say. That's probably the best word I'm going to use here. Is the consistency of when he's good. There's no consistency in his mood, in his emotional state, in what's going on. There is no rhyme or reason to when all of a sudden he can fight back and when he can't and sucks. And Oma's saying he's stronger, and then his brother and all that shit later on says to the Connector, So it's like, oh yeah, like we have the same genetic makeup, so we both have Superman syndrome, but it's this size. It's not Waka level, of course, and that part I don't mind. But it's like also he's actually way better at martial arts than I am, but he's lacking training and keeping up because he's got Superman syndrome and because he's a bit of a prodigy when it comes to martial arts. How many prodigies can we have in this damn story? Because he's actually very latent, got a lot of potential for martial arts. He got lazy about keeping up with his training. That's fine, dandy. But that's not what's happening. So that makes no sense either. Because if he was lacking in training, first and foremost, he would not be shredded. Superman syndrome does not make you look like Hugh fucking Jackman at all times when you never work out. Sorry, that's not what Superman syndrome does. All right, that's just a fact. And number two, he wouldn't be able to, even if, let's say he's lacking the training and the discipline and all that stuff, and he was lazy on keeping up with his martial arts. If that's the case, there's no fucking way Alma would have said he's stronger and he'd be able to take on Okoye, slip away from Masters. Like A and B aren't equaling C. You know what I'm saying? The Pythagorean theorem is not working. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. None of that's happening right now. We're equaling minus D squared somehow. None of it's adding up. And I know people call it the Pythagorean theorem, but his actual name, if pronounced correctly, was Pythagoras. So anyways, that's not the point. We're not doing a math lesson here. But all I'm saying is that there's no... I don't think what's-his-name, that the mangaka, has any idea what to do with this character. I think he's here for some reason and he sort of forgot the purpose for him or something changed as around the course of the manga, because he just makes no sense. He's there, but he's not consistent. He's flip-floppy. None of this makes any sense. Koga defeating him makes no sense. With all the accolades according to every other character, and even the reasoning as to why he's losing to Koga, once again, by feats alone from the beginning of the series, makes no sense. Lack of training and laziness, then he wouldn't be able to do any of the shit he did up till this chapter. I don't buy that. I don't buy that at all. So, no. No, that is not that's not an excuse. I don't even know what the fuck is going on here, honestly. So this, once again, I told you guys this would be the rant part because this is the worst part, I think. One of the worst parts of Omega is, thankfully, they seem to be getting rid of this guy. They're not going to kill him, but they're writing him basically pretty much out of the story for now. Thank fucking God, because I never liked him in the first place. And realistically, he doesn't make sense as a character. He's a mistake of a character. And he's not even consistent as a mistake of a character. So, I don't even get it. He neglected his training, blah, blah, blah. So nah. He's got a ripped body, all these points. So the words and backstory, here's what I wrote right here, is so the words and backstory and feats just do not add up. His brother is supposedly weaker than him by his own admission. And then here's the other point I wanted to make, the flashback. In the flashback, the brother admits that he's the weaker of the two pairs when it comes to fighting. Yet Zaiji is apparently, when we had this flashback and he took out two bodyguards in the target, and apparently his brother was able to kick ass for some reason. Once again, nothing is adding up. And even if, once again, they don't even explain it as, oh, well, he needs to reach a certain emotional threshold or a point where his mood changes and he goes, sort of an Agito thing or a schizophrenia or anything. None of that. None of that's happening, because when he's weeping and crying, sometimes he lashes out like a tiger and he's all good, and then 5 seconds later he runs away like he's this mentally disturbed person, but there's not actually any rhyme or reason to it, and it's not done well in a mentally disturbed person, written well like the Joker or something like that. It's just nonsense. It's perfect nonsense. It's not making any sense. So yeah, so we can beat up Okoye and this guy, but the brother's weaker, but not weaker. Anyways, so thankfully we're done with this guy. We're absolutely done with him. That was my rant about Zaiji. I hated that part. I'm glad it's over and done with, and hopefully we don't see him for a good long time. I don't want to see him for the rest of the manga. I really don't. So. Okay. So moving on to some other stuff. And... well, this part I don't like either, but we're moving on past it, but pretty much Oma is training Koga as well. Jesus Christ, would you just stop? Stop trying to hammer home. Oma's alive. Koga is second fiddle. I'm sorry. He's not the MC. I'm sorry. It's Oma. It always will be Oma. You brought back Oma. Stop trying to explain it with a post-time skip flashback and say, oh yeah, somewhere along the 2 years, Koga did really well on his own, which is fine. Koga's training, blah, blah, blah. But now, that whole, like, he's even going against what he was about as a character in a sense. Like, so is Oma, please don't tell me Oma is teaching him the Nico style, because he says something along the lines of, he's taught him almost everything. I don't know why you're asking for a sparring match now. I've taught you almost everything. Please don't tell me that means a Nico style, because once again, Koga is training, his style is karate. He's not trying to learn martial arts. He's not trying to learn a new style. He's trying to perfect his brawler style, right? He said, at the beginning of the manga, he said, I don't want to do any of these flashy, fancy, Tai Chi techniques. I want to be a hard-hitting brawler that can fight a martial artist. I just want, my fists and my kicks, you know what I mean? He wants to stick to his core. Respectable. That's respectable. He doesn't want to do the Tiger Nico thing and try to improve upon and create the ultimate martial art, fusing Tai Chi and Jiu-Jitsu and all this stuff. No. He wants to take the core concepts from people like Cosmo's teacher, and was sparring with him, and with Seki, learning how to train his body better with wrestling. But he's not becoming a wrestler. He's not learning Seki's moves like wrestling moves. He's just learning the conditioning and the training that goes into being a wrestler. Same with Cosmo and stuff, learning how to strike and learning how to grapple. But these basic things, how to master each ability and be able to incorporate them into his own karate. Please don't tell me he learned the Nico style. God's sakes. And then training his fist eye, I could sort of get. I still don't agree that Agito and Roland have any connection to him and should be training him at all. But they need some reason. This is just some MC plot armor bullshit. Some reason the tops of the verse are training our MC with zero reason behind it. And yeah, so here Oma is doing that, seemingly training him, still on top, clearly. But Koga is supposed to do karate and not the Nico style, as I said. So anyways, I hope all he's training him is his fist eye, because he seemingly is training him how to fight with the pre-initiative, or I couldn't sense your intent. That's because I hid the intent in your blind spot, blah, blah, blah. So Oma's still on top, of course, but yeah. Then we get in, so that's the bad parts, realistically. I think that's the end of the bad parts. Those were the two things that I could remember when I was writing the bullet points. Here's the next one. That I really like is new tournament, the Berserker Bowl, and it's already going to be better than KVP, and here's why. Number one, I like the idea that there's going to apparently be there's a rumor of another Annihilation tournament. There's rumor of an even bigger tournament. Some are calling it an Annihilation tournament, some aren't, but the end idea is that there's going to be bigger than Ashura, bigger than KVP, and bigger than this Berserker Bowl. There's going to be the biggest tournament. What is at stake necessarily? Is it another Annihilation tournament? Who knows? But because when I was reading it, some people were saying something bigger, and some people were saying it was Annihilation. But anyways, regardless what it is, there's something even bigger on the horizon. So the real top dogs, the Masters and the Legends for the most part, are staying out of the Berserker Bowl. And Nogi even says to specifically leave, I'm sort of jumping ahead here, but Nogi says specifically make sure Oma doesn't join the Berserker Bowl. Why? We still don't know. As far as up to chapter 168, we do not know why Nogi wants to keep Oma out. Maybe to keep him fresh for what's to come. Maybe he really needs Oma on his side for this. Maybe there's some monsters hiding in the background again, just like Purgatory there was. But either way, this is looking incredibly exciting, because what we're doing now is that we're training up, we're seeing who's the top dog of the new gen, and I like this because the Berserker Bowl, it's going to be better, and we're also using Kengan rules. None of this ring out shit, none of these bad, terrible Purgatory fucking pretending they're this underground deadly force when they're just MMA for fucking people who don't want to fucking be in the spotlight. It was bullshit. Purgatory is fucking weak sauce, and now we got we're back to Kengan rules. And I'm like, all right, Berserker Bowl about to be some good-ass shit. Now, the cool thing is that, as I said, the Masters and Legends are staying out. The rules are Kengan rules. And the lineup is pretty cool. The lineup is good. Like, we got these supernovas, right? We got these supernovas. We got some of the old classics. You know, we got Haro's in there, and Rio's in there, and Sao Pang and Cosmo. So we still got some legends. We still got Sao Pang and Cosmo, but I would argue they're still not on top. They're not Agito, they're not Gensai, they're not Oma, they're not Ryan, right? We're keeping the strongest of the strong are still staying out of it. Gao Lang's not there, that kind of stuff. But who is there is still some heavy hitter contenders, and now we're going to be able to see how they match up, how the new generation, both the Purgatory characters, both the new characters they've introduced, some old familiar faces that we haven't seen in a while, like a Shark Tooth Girl's ponytail dude, who ends up not being part of the main, spoilers, but he doesn't end up being part of the main tournament of the 8 left contenders, because they do this preliminary thing. Anyways, it's just really, really cool. I like the setup. I like the idea of the preliminaries. So we get to, like, basically nobody's not included. Anybody who's a fighter is basically included in this, and anybody who's not in this is basically too strong for this, so they're leaving them out. I like it. I really do. I like the idea. So yeah. And then what else did I say about this? Yeah, the younger gen, blah, blah, blah. Pretty exciting stuff. And here's one thing I don't like, though. So Cosmo, I never minded Cosmo. I always liked Cosmo back in Asura or whatever. But then he sort of styled his hair after his master, right? He got the ponytail look, and it looks good on Cosmo. It looked really good. And then now that we're going to see him fight again, he cut it. Fucking hell. Fucking hell, man. I like the ponytail. And Sao Pang is in this. So, right out of the gate, I'm giving it to Sao Pang. Sao Pang's going to win this whole thing. I argue that 110% Sao Pang is going to win this whole thing. If not, Cosmo's also a great bet. But I don't see Sao Pang losing this. Seeing the entire lineup, unless somebody pulls out some crazy, I am the true Tiger Vessel, Nico style, something, I really don't see Sao Pang losing. I don't know who he would lose to. Unless he has, like, really hard matches going upwards, like by the time he, sort of like Oma, by the time he got to the championship match, he was dead on his feet. So unless that happens, but I still see him getting to the championship, at the very least. At the very least, Sao Pang is definitely in there. So yeah, unless we get MC Koga plot armor, which I'm not that worried about, because you would argue that Agito or Oma should have gotten plot armor in the first manga series, and neither one of them won. It was an upset with Kuroki Gensai for that whole manga, for the big Annihilation tournament for the cat. That's what it was. So yeah, I'm good with that. I'm actually very excited, because the good thing is that Ryuki and Koga don't have that MC plot armor that hurts so many manga, I would argue, a lot of the time. Koga doesn't have to win this tournament. Neither does Ryuki. So you could easily have Sao Pang win this. You know, or Cosmo, or somebody else. Or maybe one of the other supernovas, like my guy Leonardo Silva, who yeah, that's my guy. So he's in action. We've never seen him in action before. I'm looking forward to it, because he looks cool. He looks badass. Like, he just instantly, when I saw the new supernovas, I said, that's my guy, and that's what I'm sticking with. So the preliminaries are cool, because this way, the whole tournament, we get to include all the characters, both small fry and B tier and C tier guys, but we also get through it a little bit, because the preliminaries are sort of fast paced. We're not seeing every single match, though I would argue, and I'll tell you guys which matches I wish we would have seen. We should have seen the whole fight. There's a few of those, but overall, I don't mind the pacing here. You know, we weed out some of the weaker characters while we still show that they're still active fighters. They're still here. You know, we get some upsets for some fighters and stuff. The supernovas are all friends as well, and I really like that dynamic for a change. They actually all know each other over the past 2 years. You know, they've met. They're the top. They're the new generation, and they've all been chatting with each other. They go out for drinks and that kind of stuff. They're all entering the tournament, of course, and they're going to fight. But it's not like the Astra tournament where these guys have never met each other for the most part, you know. So it's a different change, and I don't mind the change. It's a cool change. But Adam's in this thing too. Adam Dudley's in this. So this is a really good lineup of both old and new fighters, both legendary guys like Cosmo and Sao Pang, but also we got some other of the weaker contenders from the Annihilation Tournament, and we also have guys that didn't make the cut in the Annihilation Tournament, plus the new generation, some characters from Purgatory like Falcon and stuff like that. So it's a very nice mesh of fighters. I really like this. So Sao Pang also had the right idea to train for this tournament. He fought against fucking Seki, who he apparently lost to every other time, but he then won his one and only victory against Seki. Right before the tournament, he had a Kengan match where he actually managed to beat Seki. Sao Pang's in peak form, guys. Sao Pang's in peak form. This is good. He's got the right idea. No, I'm not training against some punch and bag. No, fuck that. Come at me in a Kengan match, bro. Let's do this, you know? So, really liking that so far. Honestly, as I said, once you get past the chapter like 158 to like 162, 163, when we had all the bullshit with Koga and Zaiji and all that shit, once we get through that, and now we're into a new arc with the Berserker Bowl and all this stuff, I'm really looking forward to this new... I'm going to be honest with you guys, this new tournament sounds incredibly exciting. And the preliminary stuff, as I said, a couple of fights I would have liked to see, but I still like the outcomes, I still like some of the upsets. I'm so far really liking what I've read so far of this Berserker Bowl. And so let's see. Going into the Berserker Bowl. Let's get into the Berserker Bowl here, because I still have some points to make. I still have actually quite a few points to make. So this video is probably going to be about an hour. So yeah, strap in. Now, Haro is also in this tournament, and I like that. But one of the things I really wish we had seen, especially over the course, how many years has it actually been? Has it been 4 total since the end of Ashura? Because there was the 6 month and the 2 year within Kengan Omega. But how many years was it? I think it was 2. Was it 2 or 3 years since the end of Ashura at the start of Omega? So let's say it's just been roughly 5 years. Let's just use 5 as an easy thing. Haro has been training with Seki ever since. And I'm sure he's good as a wrestler, blah, blah, blah. But I really would have liked to see him slim down. Not to his old form, but I feel like they're really holding Haro back. I'd really like them to do sort of a, from Air Gear, Bucha, I'd like them to do something like that where, yeah, most of the time he's got the fat stuff or whatever going on. And maybe this is a little silly, but we have things like advance and removal, so what the fuck ever. Where he could maybe, like, he can go into a form similar to the advance, but not the advance, just he can, like, harden himself up and be jacked full form. It's like, you think all that training with, because the training was kicking guys in really good shape like Koga. That training was kicking their ass. Haro is there training under Seki for now 5 odd, amount of years, and you're telling me he's still so fat? Like, he hasn't become more like Seki's size? Like, I'm not saying he would slim down completely, and you could still leave him somewhat fat, but I think he should be slimmer. I think he should be slimmer, and maybe when he takes off his shirt or something, when he hardens up, you can actually see that he's got like a flex form or something like that. I don't know. It's sort of disappointing because I like him as a character, and he had a good backstory, and he got fucked over by the real world, right? He got fucked over by what's his name, who owned Nintendo or whatever. But that's after 5 years of training and stuff. You'd think we would see an improvement in his body type, So I think that's a missed opportunity. That's just me. Because he went toe-to-toe with Akoya, if I recall. And he nearly won that. So, in my opinion. So, in the Kengan Annihilation Tournament. And he, I would argue, was not in his best form. So, yeah, I believe that's who he went up against. Anyways. So my point is that it's kind of disappointing to see that he's joining it's great to see he's joining the tournament, but at the same time, like, I think there's a missed opportunity there to see him actually improving, because we don't see it, and that's too bad. But we get some interesting pools and matchups, and I have no idea who is getting in other than some select few people like Cosmo, Koga, Ryuki, etc. So when I was reading this, I was like kind of excited to see what was going to happen. Oma thinks the Berserker Bowl is not tough enough like the Kengan Annihilation Tournament, but our waifu, Kaede, reminds him that that was a fight to the death outlier. That was like the peak of all tournaments. That was the granddaddy of everything. You can't compare every tournament to that, but he does say it's a lot of fun. That's where I brought up that Nogi doesn't want Oma to enter for some reason. But once again, Kengan rules, no downs or ring outs, let's go, boom. and Koga obviously wins his first match. We meet this new guy using shoot wrestling, whatever. Koga wins his first match, and we see the first match, and it's a pretty good match. It's a pretty good match overall. And the Seki scene of him training him in shock therapy was really well done. Jose going in there and being like, Seki, I know you don't want to do this. He goes, there's a lot of guys tougher than me. You think you can take on Tokita Oma? Are you fucked in the head, boy? Said, come at me. I'm going to kill you. You know, and Seki was padded up and beating the ever-loving shit out of Koga. It was the only way to toughen him up at this point. Seki didn't want to do it. Jose was there saying, Jesus Christ, this is too far. Koga's agreeing to it and everything, but he's like, there are way more guys stronger than me. Like, Seki's awesome, but we all know he's not top 5. So he's like, there are stronger people than me, tougher people than me, and they are going to beat you down. You think you're Oma? You think you're Oma level? Are you fucked? You know, so I really like that scene. That was a fantastic scene. A great scene, not so much for Koga, but for Seki. It was a great Seki scene, and we haven't seen... Seki hasn't fought in this entire... We didn't even get to see the Sao Pang match. We haven't seen Seki fight since Asura, and I'm really hoping that he ends up in the Annihilation Tournament. I really want to see that, because we need some more Seki. We need Mutaba back, we need Seki back, we want to see Hatsumi Sen after his improvement, we need to see the GOATs, you know, so yeah, there's definitely that. And as I said before, I already mentioned this, we sort of fast-paced, we speed blitz through the preliminary, we speed run the matches to get to the main tournament, and as I said, I guess it's okay for the most part. We miss out on some good matches, and I wish they sort of had paused. Like, we could have spent, I don't know, another 5 chapters on this to showcase some of the matches. Like the Ryo versus Haro fight sounded awesome, and we get to see a couple of snippets of it, but we don't get to see the whole match. I would have gladly given up the pacing to slow down and see that match for 3 chapters. You know, I would have dedicated 3 chapters to that fight, easy. And I think we would have had a really fun time. Even though people make fun of Ryo and stuff like that, and Haro, I think the match sounded good. It looked like it was an exciting match. We were told it was one of the best matches. And so I get why some people, I don't know, because I haven't, you know, kept up because I don't want to be spoiled, but I would get that some people would be both. Some people might not even like the fact that we're skipping a lot of the preliminaries into, okay, we see one match from the round, and then we sort of say, all right, here's who won this, and this, here's who's injured, here's who's not. We're sort of moving it along. I think it's fine. As I said, I wish we had a pause, probably for about half a dozen to 8 chapters, maybe seeing the Haro versus Ryo fight, and maybe seeing another fight or something like that. You know, just a few of the fights, so it didn't feel so like, boom, 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 we're going to the main tournament. But I think it works because the main tournament lineup looks pretty solid, looks pretty awesome. So that's just me, but I can see that some people wouldn't be excited about it. My boy Leonardo Silva wins. Silva won his fight. Cosmo, Adam, Rahito, they all won. Oh, right, Rahito's in there too. So they passed over the opportunity, as I said, to show the Ryo versus Haro fight called the best fight of round 1, and that sucks because it was pretty intense. Haro won in the end, but it was a near victory, and people were saying that Ryo is now going to be considered among the names because people were calling him shy of the Legends. The Legends being, of course, everyone who participated in the Annihilation Tournament, which a very broad spectrum of a title. So I don't know how much the fan base uses those titles so much. Because when I think Legends, I think the ones who got to some of the final rounds. You know, I'm thinking like the Legends in my mind would be like Adam. Like Adam Dudley now is kind of cool. Like we like Adam throughout the, or some people like Adam, but like guys like Adam or Inaba or these guys who sort of lost in round 1. Not that they're not strong necessarily, and depending on who they lost to, but also like really how strong do you really want to consider them? Like, are you gonna put them in the same bracket, same tier? So as other guys, you know what I mean? So for me, the whole idea of the legend thing is very interesting. Because now they're saying Ryo's not shy of the Legends anymore. He can go toe to toe with people who participated in the Annihilation Tournament, so he's not some weak ass, you know, that kind of idea. That's fine and everything like that, I guess. You know, I know some people really don't like these characters. I'm fine with it. I never minded them. So yeah, but I think it was a big mistake not showing that fight because I think there was a lot there. Us being told it and not shown it. Once again, this is a manga. Show, don't tell sometimes, you know. Once again, Sao Pang did beat Seki right before the thing. Ryuki actually losing was interesting. I like that. An upset. I like that. An upset. A couple upsets have to happen. And I really enjoyed that. Now, apparently Setsuna is going to fix the Ryuki losing issue as he's a killer, not a fighter. And he has to change that mold. And I'm like, okay, but here, we're going to get into, this is the last point, the tangent point, if you will. So, Setsuna's going to fix that, and that's what we hear. Then we get, so in the next round, we get Chiba versus Ryuki. And it's like, that went bad. Wait a minute. Oh, shit. And now Oma, we see him. It's like, why did you do that? You son of a... He got him by the throat. Oma has him by the throat. And I'm like, you want to kill this wannabe Nico-style lookalike child? You go ahead, Oma. Let's go. Teach him what a real MC is about. So, let's go. Here is where I'm going to take a pause. Because this is all happening. All my questions, all my concerns happened here in chapter 166. So once we get through all, I got a rant here, guys. I got bullet points, but I'll try to get through it. For 166 specifically, there's a lot of questions, a little bit of theorizing, and some things I don't like. And then we'll move on to the last two chapters, and then boom, we'll be done with the discussion. So, yeah. So 166, I got questions. So let's start off with how this all went down, right? Chiba made leaps and bounds in his actor department. Oma even says very similar to how the Cure Clan has a copy technique, but Chiba makes that look like the base level. Chiba's whole fighting style is based on the act of copying, and it's far better than the Cure Clan's technique. I like that. I like the idea that, sure, the Cure Clan can do the same idea, but someone who literally pours all their time and effort into that is going to do it far better than guys who have more than that technique. Sort of like the Nico style. You got your 4 katas. If you only trained in one, let's say redirection or flame, you only trained in that one, you could argue that someone's entire fighting style that was based only in the flame kata would potentially be better at the flame kata than even Oma. Because Oma has trained in all the katas, this guy's only trained in flame. So, of course, a master of one would be better than someone who spent time to master or try to master all of them. You know, a specialized sort of style, so to speak. But I like that because Chiba, even by his own admission, wasn't, you know, I love that, like, that sixth sense, like, because Chiba, when we first saw him, he was like, oh, he can copy everybody. But even he was lying in the Kengan Annihilation tournament. And I love that. I love the idea that this is some magical dude who can perfectly copy you the moment he sees you fight. He's like, no, I'm playing a part here. I'm making it look like I can switch between every fucking style. But I can't. I need to observe these people for months. I need to do all this background work. I need to spend a bunch of time training. It's not as simple. He can't just boom, magic, see it happen like a lot of manga do the copycats. This guy actually has to work hard at it. It reminds me very much of one of the characters, I forget how you say his name, begins with an M, from Food Wars, Misata? Anyways, from Food Wars, who has to do the same thing. He has to study and basically stalk the person to try to, and sometimes it doesn't work, right? But he has to do that to be able to fully get into the character, so to speak. So Chiba's the same way, and unlike the Six Fang and these other copycats who copy moves and stuff, he's a developing one, as we know, as I said, from the original series, and I like that. And I like that now, after the 4 or 5 years, we've seen him now, he's gotten far better. Perfect. I don't need to see that to believe that it happened, because after 5 years, once again, I'm disappointed in Haro. Haro we should have seen actually slim down. Maybe not once again back to how he looked before he came to the new world, so to speak. But it would have been extremely nice to see him actually change after the 5 years. Chiba has improved. That's cool. And here's the deal, is that he had time. At least with Agito's formless, I can buy that he's probably not perfect, but he's copied Agito's formless style. Awesome. Cool. He's had time to see it. And very dangerous. And then he's even copied Roland's Salat, Okay. And then a fusion of both. Formless and that. And I'm like, this dude is out of his mind, but why the fuck not do that? Like, the lag time between, as Kuroki said, the lag time between martial arts and formless had has, Agito was slowly closing that gap. Chiba has been trying to do it the entire time ever since he was trying to learn Formless. So now I don't think his Salat is anywhere close to Roland's style, like as good, but he's definitely been trying his best and blah blah blah. So a little bit of poetic license. Like I like the Formless idea. I don't buy the fact that he saw the Purgatory. But then again, for all we know, Chiba could have been watching Purgatory for the last 5 years. So I have no indication that he hasn't been studying up and training against this guy, watching all his matches for 5 years. I have no reason to believe he wouldn't be doing that. So sure, fine dandy. So he managed to combine them. I think that sort of takes away from Formless, though, doesn't it? Because the whole premise of Formless is it's formless. You can't combine them. But I guess, once again, sort of a lag time. There is a time, there's a time difference between using both. Either way, the dude is deadly as fuck, and I'm like, oh man, Ryuki's really going to have a tough time with this. And I'm like, all right, cool. Now, I like the idea because she was kind of fun in that way. And even though I do understand the blink part working on Chiba, even in a fusion form, as he's not, because he doesn't copy pre-initiative or the inception of intent or any of that stuff. He's not copying that. He copies the form, or formless, go figure. He copies the styles, but not the inherent abilities. My best example to use this is like Conqueror's Hockey. He can't copy somebody's hockey, because Conqueror's Hockey is something born with, not something you learn or train. You can train it, but you can't learn it but through training. It's impossible. So you can't copy it. In that regard, I don't think you can copy the fist eye, for example. I don't think you could copy that. So sure, fine dandy. The fact that blink worked, it wasn't expected. Sure, okay. And using the Rakusha's palm, blah, blah, blah. The problem comes with the following up, as Oma says. See, I don't have a problem with Ryuki winning the fight. And even though Chiba's showing off the super, I'm combining the two kings styles. Boom, taken out, boom, down for the count. I'm like, disappointing, but does it make sense? Absolutely. Blink is a very, very powerful move. And if you don't know about it, you're not ready for it. Even Kuroki Gensai says the only reason it didn't work on him very well was because he already knew about it. Right? So so this working is fine. It's the following up. And the reason I say the following up by Oma is because he said you followed up. Here's where the problem is. Setsuna did nothing. Setsuna, a few chapters ago, fucking said, he's got a curse. He's got all this stuff. I'm going to have to fix it. We're going to have to try to fix it. He's a killer, not a fighter. So we're going to have to try to fix the problem. But he didn't fix any problem. He just turned the killer switch mode on. He didn't do shit. As he explained it, he did not fix anything because he activated his killer mode again. That's all he did. He basically reset him to Chapter 1 Ryuki before Koga said you can't kill people. That's all he did. So none of this, he's fallen into the curse crap. What fucking curse? You mean he didn't want to kill anybody in a fight? So now, because Koga asked him not to, and now Setsuna was like, yeah, don't fucking worry about that. Fucking, you've been killing worms this whole time. Just act like they're all worms. That's basically probably all he said. He goes, yeah, no, try to kill them all. Go for the kill. You're fine. And I'm like, that's not fixing shit. That's not a curse. This is some hyperbole bullshit. So I didn't like that at all. It just means, so he's just going for the kill again. We're just resetting. We're basically just taking away any of his character development. We're sort of regressing him. You could argue this is a form of character arc or development, but we're basically regressing him back to how he was pre-KVP. That's all we're doing. We're resetting Ryuki back to that. So because Setsuna even said, we don't have time to switch you and teach you how to still be on top of your game while not going for the kill. You've been trained as a killer, not a fighter, and I don't have, 3 days ain't enough to train you to do that. To train you to become a fighter and not a killer. I can't do it, you're going to lose your matches. So he can't switch from fighter mode in a short time. So, and, you know, the Rakshas palm took Chiba out, and Oma is right, but there's no need to follow up at that point. And even if you're a killer, so he's going for the kill, but uninhibited. So, like, basically, Rakshas palm took him out completely, but now they've completely, like, I just don't buy the fact that Ryuki now, alright, so Setsuna basically said, okay, fuck fighting, go for killing. But, like, Ryuki's so fucking, like, he's a child. Like, he's so fucking stupid. He's like a toddler that he can't understand the idea of, okay, go for the kill, but I don't need to kill. Like, go for the kill, act like you're going to kill. He used the Rakshas palm. It took Chiba out 100%. He was in critical condition, all this shit. There was no reason for Ryuki to follow up. You're telling me that he hasn't even learned that much, that he goes into this fucking total trance, tunnel vision, can't see shit. I'm not buying it. It's just a bad character, or a bad character trait, one of the others. Like he's like this infant child that you can't tell him, like, okay, listen. Hi guys, just hitting pause right here really quick at this point in the discussion video, because while I was editing this section, I realized that I go off on a long-winded analogy and explanation that realistically, not that it was bad or didn't reach a good conclusion, or that I think it was a bad analogy, but it is a little long-winded and it's a bit of a tangent, and realistically, it felt a little boring. Because it can easily be summarized right here with the fact that I just don't buy that Ryuki as a character who has been trained as an assassin / martial artist / killer has no bearing on any form of limitations. And that when he moves into killer mode, he doesn't know how to assassinate one person. He's got to burn down the whole building to make sure he's absolutely killed his target. He's got no sense of limitations, limiter, as I compared him earlier in the video, like a toddler or an infant or a small child, that they don't know their own strength yet, they don't know their own body, they flail their arms without any sort of consciousness of not hurting themselves as well as the people around them. So I'm just not buying that he's been trained by a master martial artist, whether to kill or not, has no concept of when to hold back, when to pull his punches whatsoever in this regard. And that's basically what the analogy was trying to get to that point. So we're going to edit that part out of the video here, and I hope you guys accept this short pause and explanation as what I was basically trying to say. And another thing, fuck the hell off, Ryuki. Oma would absolutely destroy you in a Kengan match. Blindfolded using one kata. You would lose. You can't beat Oma in any regard. You could handicap. The only way to make that fight fair is to literally blindfold Oma. Have Oma fight Ryan and then Kuroki and then Agito all in succession before your fight. Then you have a shot. Ryuki, you are garbage. You can't even actually fight without trying to kill someone. You just proved that by this entire thing. You lost like a bitch because you weren't trying to murder. And then when you actually did do a good move and you took out a really strong guy with some stolen moves from Setsuna, fucking all of a sudden that wasn't enough for you and you needed the blood. You needed the blood. What are you, a fucking vampire all of a sudden? Like, Jesus Christ. And stop talking like you're top tier. And the other thing is, did Oma and Kaede, this is my question actually at the end of 166. I told you there was a lot of 166. Did Oma and Kaede see Setsuna at the end of the hall? Or is that just bad paneling on my part? Because they say that you're going to the one to kill the old god, blah, blah, blah. I have no idea. Considering Oma knows, he recognizes the moves. He knows Setsuna has to be involved in some way. Like, when Ryuki was walking down the hall, like, I'll fight you in a Kengan match anytime. No, you mean you'll lose in a Kengan match anytime, Ryuki. But he's walking down the hall towards Setsuna, and he sees Setsuna and blah, blah, and they walk off. We see Kaede and Oma still, like, looking on, like, grimace, and Kaede shocked and stuff. Did they see Setsuna and just almost suspect that Setsuna? Or did Ryuki walk down the hall, like, way past him, turn a corner, blah, 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 and that's just another shot, you know? I don't know. What is that a debate in the community? Did Oma see somebody meet up with Ryuki at the end of the hallway or not? It's not answered up to 168, so I don't know. But yeah, so I really don't like that. It just doesn't make sense to me. You can argue because he lived in the world, that way it's kill or be killed and all that shit, but it's like, once again, no, like how can you not install? He was fighting fine without killing people before. Well, not fine, but he was able to fight them like he has to go full demon mode. Is the only way he can win. Like that means he's a terrible martial artist. He's got no control over his emotions, and he's a fucking toddler. So, anyways, I don't like him. Never did, so that's cool. But anyway, so the end part, guys, that was the last rant. The fights move on. Some interesting moments happen. We get a weird Kanade and Oma training thing stuff. Whatever. And then we move on. So basically, Kanade got this upgrade. It's because he can't learn pre-initiative. Because once again, similar to Conqueror's Hockey, it's not something that no matter how hard you train, just some people can do it, some people can't. Is what I'm gathering. Like it's inherited. No matter how much you work for it, some people will never be able to do pre-initiative. It just is what it is. But he got another one. Yeah. So anyways. And it's impressive. It's impressive. So we're just showing that off for some reason. He's not involved in the tournament, so I don't know why we're showing that. Anyways, so the fights move on, as I said. So once again, I think we should have seen the 2 Rio matches because they both sound good for sure. And the Silva match. I would have liked to see the Silva match. And apparently Mark Myers, getting the W by default kind of sucks. 2 Supernovas are out because they literally were so evenly matched. They beat the shit out of each other. One's in the hospital. One, due to injury, just can't fight anymore. So they beat the shit out of each other. It's very unfortunate because these 2 really wanted to see each other in the matches, and now neither one of them get to even go to the main tournament. And Mark Myers gets to go there by default. Kind of shitty. Kind of sucks. So I hope Michael Myers, I feel like he could be a dark horse potentially, but I think he's going to lose. I think he's going to lose because he shouldn't really be there, you know what I mean? He only got in there due to happenstance in a way. So there's that. Chiba taking the L, here, like man, that kind of sucks because we see this new form, this new fusion. His acting's gotten a lot better, and he gets taken out by Blink and Rakshas's Palm. Once again, I do not mind the fact that he lost to Blink. That makes sense. And the Rakshas's Palm is a very dangerous technique. It's the whole Ryuki not being able to do. I don't know. Ryuki as a character is stupid. But he won his other bout, but then he chose not to fight Ryuki again, saying he wouldn't win with his current injuries. Now that he knows about Blink and Rakshas's Palm, he might do it, but with his injuries, he knows he can't fight against that. So Oma's not happy, thinking that was sort of a dirty play, but he's like, one of ours did that was unsportsmanlike sort of idea. Once again, is it really dirty? No. But it's just the follow-up and stuff. The going for the kill. Rakshas's Palm to the neck. He could have died, you know what I mean? So, Oma's not happy with the unsportsmanlike. It's like, once again, they're not trying to kill each other here. Like, Christ. And then Ryuki makes some points to Koga after all this, right? So, Ryuki makes some points to Koga after they're talking, who is still fighting without his life on the line. And Ryuki says he is taking it too far, of course. Same deal as Chapter 1, but in this case, it's refreshing that they stand by their ideals. Like, Koga basically... From one perspective, that a teensy bit why I like that Ryuki has now regressed to this form, I don't like the fact that he still can't control himself. Like, he's supposed to be... Like, you taught somebody martial arts and they have 0 discipline. Makes no sense. But Koga failed to change Ryuki at the end of the day. Now, it's Koga and Yamagohan are at fault for this. A lot of the characters are at fault for allowing Setsuna to get his claws into Ryuki. And that whole thing during KVP with Naden and all that stuff, that's on them. That's completely on them for caring too much about KVP and not their friend. That's on those characters. So Koga failed as a friend to change Ryuki. Is it his job to babysit? No, but after... I hope my friends are around. Like, nobody leaves me alone in an empty hallway to go watch a football game after I fucking murder somebody that I didn't want to. I hope people realize I'm more important than the football game, So... So in that one particular sense, I like the idea that Ryuki has regressed in this way and learning the art of killing from Setsuna, blah, 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 and being corrupted by Setsuna. So there is that sort of one little shining light at the end of the dark tunnel that is Ryuki as a character, because that part works. Ryuki agrees with Koga's grandfather and stuff. It's like, yeah, you're not wrong and I am wrong, but... my way is the way that it was back in the inside, and that's the way it happens, you know what I mean? So, and if you don't fight that way, Kengan matches are to the death and stuff. People do die. I'm not saying they always go for the kill, but people die and people do put their life on the line all the time to win that. And if you're only going in there at 99 and I'm going at 100, who's going to come out on top, is basically what he's saying. And he's still not wrong. Koga's still a little naive about fighting in this way, because he's not fighting in the MMA, he's not fighting in official boxing matches, he's fighting in an underground ring of death and destruction, and very little in the way of rules. So Ryuki's mindset is a little better than Koga's naivete at this regard, but anyways. And now we have the official tournament finally underway. The ship be real. The drip is amazing, even though Kaede doesn't agree with the Koga's drip. The drip be real, ladies and gentlemen. I love the drip on these guys. They all look stellar. They all look badass. The 8 contenders, and we get the matchups. So, and the last part, Nogi's a fucking moron trying to take the king in public. That is, what the fuck is that? That's fucking dumb. So that's the way I'm going to end the video. That's how I'm going to end it on. Nogi, what the fuck? That's how I'm ending this discussion video. Because we've been going, we must be an hour by now. A lot of ranting, a lot of bullshit to cover between the tournaments here. But also, now that we're officially, the reason I'm ending it here, I probably could have caught up. You know, made this video an hour and a half, got caught up. But instead, here's what we're going to do now. This is the final discussion video for Kengan Omega, ending here at chapter 168. What I am going to do is I'm going to make a, either do a separate video or just one stream. I might do both, but I might just make it the stream. The stream seems the most likely. So instead of trying to cover chapters that have already long passed, and making a separate prediction video and blah, blah, blah. Instead, this is certainly the end of the discussions, but I might make a prediction video with the tournament bracket. I've already made my predictions. It's up on my Discord because I caught up to this a few days ago. And I think some people are going to like the fact that I'm doing more Omega content from here on out. We'll be caught up probably by the end of next week, you know, with the stream and everything, whenever I get the chance to do that, and then we'll be caught up. So, pretty cool. Let me know what you guys thought of my thoughts and what I said in this video. Any disagreements, any agreements, any explanations for any of the bullshit I was talking about. But yeah, so like, comment, and subscribe as always. It's always very much appreciated. Don't forget to drink, but responsibly as I always do. And we will see you people back here next time for some more Kengan Omega. And we'll see you guys back here for that stuff in a prediction video or a stream or both. Who knows? See you guys back here for that. Bye-bye.